Wow, look at you. Yeah, I guess you took the hard road. Ah, me too. You'd think we'd learn. No, all in the name of progress, right? They say there's always something better. Burn the old, bring in the new. Well, how'd that work out? Risked our whole future. And we trusted them. And now we fight them any way we can. For what? For what's left of humanity.
Hello, this is Nicholson 1968. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to my new project, Back to Human. Before the intro, I played a video game trailer from Disintegration: Reboot Humanity. Very interesting video game, but I'll get to that a little bit later. I want to start off with a book that was written 2,500 years ago by Sun Tzu called Art of War. And the first rule of Art of War is know thy enemy. And that is the key to understanding what is going on in this realm. A lot of people claim to know what's going on. They say they know the enemy, but they leave out a portion that they miss a lot of information. What I'm talking about is most people think the enemy is a physical enemy alone, and it is not. It is a physical enemy along with a spiritual or a hidden realm. Call it what you want. But that is the portion that if you don't understand, if you don't respect that, you don't believe in that part of the enemy, then you miss a lot of information. Even the Bible in Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And a lot of people don't want to believe that. Even Christians, they forget about that part of the spiritual side. They think it's either Democrats or Republican, or it's right or left. When you get caught up in that right-left paradigm, that's where they want you. They want you fighting against each other so you don't understand that third person. I call it the third person in the room that's standing in the corner that poked the stick at both sides that are watching you fight each other. All along, the enemy is in the corner, that spiritual realm that is so important. And to address that, they're like, well, I can't see that, Nicholson. I can't touch it. I can't feel it. Look, you can't touch or feel airwaves, radio airwaves either. You can't touch them. You have to use a radio tuner to tune those in. Does that mean that radio waves don't exist? No, they quite well do exist. You have to just tune in, just like the enemy is around us all the time. You just have to use your senses to tune in. Most don't have the time, they don't have the patience to tune in. That's why all of the distractions from the media, music, videos, all of this stuff to keep you occupied so that you don't realize what's going on around you in a hidden realm, spiritual realm. So the other thing is they want to get you to believe that it doesn't exist. That's right down their alley.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. Nobody ever believed he was real. That was his power.
This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, of getting you to believe in something that's not real. They want you to believe it's not real. Video game called I Am Jesus Christ. Yes, that's correct. You heard correct. A video game coming out called I Am Jesus Christ. You can play as Jesus Christ, walk the Sea of Galilee, healing people, performing miracles for points. Now, I mean, You talk about blasphemy, mocking is unbelievable. How dare. I get it that they want more and more people to learn of Jesus Christ and what he did. I get that. But on the other hand, you're going to have kids playing, is Jesus Christ real? This is just a video game. You see where this is blurring in the way they twist things. Is just like everything else, just like Christmas and Santa Claus. Kids grow up and they find out Santa Claus was just a myth and never existed really. He can't perform miracles at night, delivering toys all in one night. So why should we believe in Jesus Christ? You know, that's where the line is. And this is a perfect example. Again, video games showing you stuff, telling you stuff, manipulating, twisting it. There's a little bit of truth in it, but it always has that little twist to it most of the time. The big releases that are released out there, it is to twist and construe the information and deviate from the true purpose behind it. Interestingly enough, we can't dismiss video games. Like I said, some contain truth, some lies. But there are some that came out that actually did predict the future and come pretty close to real-life events. Number one being Deus Ex Human Revolution, which actually in 2011, when this game was out, it predicted that a political neophyte would become the next Prime Minister of Canada. And at that time, that was a far, far stretch. And actually, it happened 2 years later. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. It predicted a Russian invasion into Georgia. Actually happened. It was like, who had the military war plan of this video game? It's like they used it to actually implement it. Metal Gear 2. Solid Snake predicted that algae would become biofuel in the future. And that came to pass years later. Another one, Homefront, predicted that a North Korean leader, Kim Jong-il, would die in 2012. In real life, he actually died December 17th, 2011. Wow, a few weeks later, Homefront would have been spot on him passing away in 2012. So that leads me to my intro of Disintegration, Humanity Rebooted. I'm drawing attention to this video game, Disintegration, Reboot Humanity. I'm going to read directly from their website telling you something. In Earth's near future, climate extremes, overpopulation, food shortages, and global pandemic led to nations collapsing and humankind on the brink of extinction. Scientists adopted a means in which the human brain was removed and surgically encased into a robotic armature, a process known as integration. It was meant to be a temporary solution to an unavoidable crisis. Does this sound like something that could really happen in the future? Yes, it can. Like I said, for years, I've told you, the one game is the battle for your soul. So the synopsis in general of what this video game is telling us is a very few will trick the masses into believing that in order for humanity to survive, because of all of the pollution, all of the chemtrails, all the GMO foods, we can't even physically reproduce on our own anymore because that is also contaminated. Digital money will be coming because the physical money you have in your pockets, your coins, the paper that you touch, it's too dangerous. Everything will be tried to control, trick you into putting your brain consciousness into a humanoid robotic body, a transhuman per se, and then after we solve all of this problem on Earth, then we will bring you back and become human again. We will get you back to human, but you will be tricked and led down the wrong path if you don't understand what is going on in this realm. This is why it is so important and why I'm sharing this video. After so many years, I've told you again of the one game. Now I'm trying to help you understand the end game to get to the one game. And this is a possibility of what can come. And again, controlling humanity through technology. And look what's happening now with the coronavirus out now. We've been warning you and warning you for years and years and years. It's all about control. It's just a stepping stone to what I am telling you about of transhumanism in the future. They have to take it in sections. They study the public, see how we react. They roll things out. Is there a mandatory vaccine coming? Who knows? But that'll be based on how the public reacts to what is going on. They study it, and then they roll out the next piece of the project. I'm going to play an interview with Anthony Patch. 2014, guys. I even included this in my documentary. Illuminati, the Black Gold Project, was telling you in 2014 it's all about control of DNA, third strand DNA. Our body is the temple of God, period. You may not believe that, don't want to believe it, but here's the problem. The enemy knows it and believes it, whether you believe it or not. I'm going to play this clip. Also, a quick note. Remember, YouTube took this documentary down that this clip is included in, Illuminati's Black Gold Project, that I put out. So pay attention. I'm going to put it in this one as well.
So it sounds far-fetched to the average person who hasn't heard this before, but this is nothing new. But let's go beyond the rabies. Let's talk about people getting a flu shot or getting a avian flu inoculation. There's another very insidious disease, if you will, which is really a man-made disease. It's a biological construct called MERS coronavirus out of the Middle East. It's the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. It's made its way into Europe to a certain extent, and eventually, because of air travel, it will reach around the world. It's another example of where inoculations or vaccines are being derived, or they're trying to derive for. That, again, I always like to go all the way to the end. What's the purpose? What's the goal? If you have a man-made or engineered virus, why was it created? Is it simply just to kill people? Well, that's one part of it, but if you go further and you go deeper than that, it is to get people to demand a vaccine, a shot, if you will, or a pill. Why would, if you're in a position of control, of power, of ultimate power, why would you want people to demand a vaccine? Well, it's because something's in the vaccine that you want people to then have as a part of their body. Well, what is in the vaccine that you want everybody to have inside their body? It is a DNA manipulator or modifier. I mentioned earlier third strand DNA. There is already, and you can find this on the internet, in existence, a third strand of DNA constructed of silicon. Again, we go back to the silicon chip in computers. The third strand is made of silicon and is also coated in gold. If you talk about nanotechnology and nano layers, this is extremely thin coating of gold down to a billionth of a millimeter of gold that is coating the silicon from which you are building a third strand of DNA. The purpose of the gold is to increase the surface area around this strand so that more information can be digitally imparted or programmed. Essentially what you're doing is you're creating a third strand of DNA. You are transferring that or imparting it into a person's body through a vaccine that person's demanding because they're afraid of contracting MERS coronavirus or avian flu or whatever it may be. And so the government, if you will, or the powers that be sit back and they kind of chuckle when they say, well, we couldn't have forced people to take this vaccine or to take this hidden third strand of DNA. They would rebel against it. But if we create the problem and present the solution, people will demand the solution. Thus we achieve our ultimate goal of having this DNA in every person changed. Well, let's go deeper. What's the goal? What's the purpose? Yeah, you go around and change everybody's DNA. What do they become? They become a hybrid. The insidious part of this is that once a person is injected, almost immediately their DNA undergoes transformation. Almost immediately they lose all awareness of the fact that they've lost their independence, their ability to think on their own, to make decisions on their own, and to affect them on a moral level. Their moral independence, their beliefs, religious, moral, ethical, legal, all of those go away. If you remove the independent thought and that awareness that you've lost your independence is gone, what then do the powers that be do with these new forms of humans, hybrids? They can control them. They can turn them into a serf class. Not S-U-R-F, not surfers, but S-E-R-F, a class of slaves to serve the elite, to serve the Ray Kurzweils of the world who want to achieve immortality, but they need to have labor to manufacture, develop all of the technologies. And they have enough technologies now. The technology, the scientific world, if you will, has reached the level where they don't care about hiding it anymore. Their agenda is so far advanced, both politically, philosophically, their sense of morals, and technologically, that no longer are they worried about you and me as the serf class and the coming serf class. They're not worried about what we think. They're not worried about us rebelling. And in fact, we won't rebel, partly because right now we've been so dumbed down through a variety of mechanisms. But once people demand the virus and they truly are dumbed down to where they've lost that awareness that something's happened to me, now they can do what they want with us. They are achieving what I call the hive mentality, like a beehive. Worker bees, soldier bees, serving the queen. The queen, in my estimation, is this elite class that's in power, and it's not the politicians. Forget the politicians. This has nothing to do with Republicans, Democrats, Tea Party, Libertarians. It has nothing to do with political structure or classes. It has to do with the small group that is in control and has been in control since ancient times.
Now you may be saying to yourself, you know what, Nicholson, I don't believe in Jesus Christ. I'm not a religious person. I'm not a spiritual person. Okay, I understand that. I get it. So put that on the side and let me talk to you of just, let's talk basics. Upgrading yourself with technology, mixing yourself with it. Ultimately, it can be hacked, just like any computer program, anything in today's world. I mean, all the time you're hearing about data breaches, information leaking out, being controlled. That's what ultimately is the end game for the enemy. Call it whatever you want. There's a spiritual enemy, there's a physical enemy. They work together in concert in this realm. You don't have to believe that. But back to basics, merging with technology, man and machine, is not a good thing. Am I against technology in general? No, I am not. It's how far it will be taken in the future and how fast it's coming. I had no idea, and so do many other YouTubers that agree with me. They know I told people back in 1999 and 2007 on YouTube about this, and look how far we've come. I mean, it is all over the place on YouTube, transhumanism. it's a known thing now to most people on YouTube and the underground, but in the mainstream, not a lot of people have yet heard of it as just it being real. You see it in movies. The latest one is, Hobbs and Shaw. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
It's funny how humanity's hate for each other is stronger than its own self-preservation, which is why we're here. Remember 8 years ago, Dec, when Etion asked us to join their mission?
Oh, you mean their death cult? The lunatics.
Visionaries. Visionaries of a future. A bigger future, a brighter future. You remember the data they gave us, man? What with environmental damage, capitalism, terrorism. Humanity wipes itself out by 2096. Now that is scary to me. Because what I realize now that I did not realize then is that when you shot me, you gave me a gift. Look at me. I'm Black Superman. Bulletproof, new spine, and the more machine I become, the more humane I am. This is what you want to fight for. What's it to be? Join the evolution of man, or die of the weak.
Here's another clip coming out showing you of a movie, Bloodshot with Van Diesel. Just listen, they're telling you something.
We are leading the way in the greatest human advancement of all time. He's unlike anything we've seen before. And he's entirely in our control.
I've developed an army of soldiers like yourself. Improved, enhanced.
Welcome to the circus. The technology in your veins will make you faster, stronger, and heal you instantly.
You made me, but you can't control me forever.
They'll come for you.
I'm looking forward to it.
And again, you may not believe in a spiritual beings, you may not be a religious man, but I want you to make the connection here. And this is what happened to me, is making the connections biblically to what is actually going on in today's world. And I studied many different things. The Quran, New Age, everything. Mormonism, you name it. But only the biblical connects actually what's going on today. It's just understanding that. But we're going to go, I'm going to read to you 2 Thessalonians 2:4. Now, this is, like I said, it's pretty obvious the enemy is telling you exactly what it wants. And this verse says it right here. This is what ultimately the enemy wants, is who opposeth and exalteth himself above that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now that's the King James Version. I'll read another version. This is the New International Version, NIV. He will oppose and will exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. Okay, so that is pretty obvious. He wants to set himself up in God's temple. Now you have to ask yourself, where is God's temple? And this is where the massive deception is going on all over the world right now. This verse right here. I'm going to share this with you. 1 Corinthians 3:16. Here's the King James Version. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? Another version. Don't you realize that all of you together are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God lives in you? Enemy is telling you where he wants to set himself up. We, the people, humanity, that's where it's going. In closing, I just want to say thank you to fellow YouTubers, subscribers, had me on their radio shows, live streams, Patreons that have donated to this ministry. I appreciate you over the years. I'm going to leave you with Hebrews 9:27. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. And that is a very key scripture of telling you. A lot of people ask me, Nicholson, what do we do? How do we combat this? And first I'm going to address the scripture, it is appointed for man to die once. So trying to live forever another way, other than the way we've been shown by the pattern, when people say you need to follow Christ, what are they talking about? I know, I hope you know. You come as a man and you die as a man. That was the mission. Think about it. He came and he died to overcome death. The enemy thought they were winning by killing him in a physical body. Same thing is going on here. You must do that. You must believe that. In the future, look where it's going. Jesus Christ, the story is becoming a myth. It's a fairy tale. It'll fade away. You have to stick to that core. He showed you something very important. Come as a man and you die as a man. You believe on Him and you overcome death, and you get your spiritual body in the next stage of this journey. This is only one stage of this journey. It's just like a butterfly. There's a butterfly and there's a caterpillar, but they're the same, but they're two different stages of development, and that is very important. So in answering what should we do, keep the faith, believe on Him. That's why He has to return, is to battle what's going on now. That's not your job per se. You're to tell of the kingdom to come. You tell of who He is and what He's about and what He showed us. But going up to the Capitol, burning crosses and violence or whatever, that's not what we were told to do. Is to keep the faith of what's to come. Because here's the thing. If you die tomorrow and you believe in Jesus Christ, guess what? You win. Appreciate you guys. Love you.